Hey, Crucible Arms here. Thanks for joining us again. Today we want to talk about the VZ58. You know, the Czechs have a long, storied history of building really fine firearms, and this is no exception. They did have to make some acquiescence to the Soviets after World War II, when obviously they were under their control. But rather than forcing the Czechs to use Soviet arms, which they wanted them to do, they did allow them to continue to keep manufacturing their own rifles and their own pistols. And this is a great design that's kind of been under the covers for a long time. The VZ58 was manufactured in 1958, actually released in 59, and it is chambered in 7.62 by 39, and that is the one acquiescence that the Czechs made to the Soviets. It was not originally chambered in 7.62 by 39, or not intended to, but that was what the final design came out as. It's a firearm that a lot of people who can't get a hold of AKs, and I'm talking about our Canadian friends, this is kind of their version of an AK. It is nothing like an AK, as most of you know. It's very different. Physically, on the exterior, it looks a little bit the same, but it's a striker fired. It's a completely different design. It's actually lighter, and this one obviously has been sexed up. I'll roll in a shot of what this looked like in its original configuration. I've modernized it since then, obviously. Went with Zahal, FAB Defense, and replaced the buttstock. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Also, the pistol grip, and then the front handguard. This originally came, and I'll roll a picture in, but originally came with that kind of red compacted wood and resin combination. It works, it's just fine, it's very rugged, but I wanted to modernize it, so this is the route that I went. This stuff came from Israel, believe it or not, because this platform isn't all that common over here. So let's talk about the buttstock a little bit. This originally came as a side folder, and this one does as well. This particular buttstock will fold over. It folds over to the opposite side, so it folds over to the left as opposed to the right-hand side, which is what you do with the original side folder. Nice and tight lockup. It's got a cheek riser on it, which is wonderful. It's an adjustable cheek riser. If you are going to run an optic on it, in this case I'm running a primary arms advanced microdot, a cheek riser really helps to get your sights on target. The other really interesting thing about this is it's got a shock absorbing system in it. So it is designed and it moves with the recoil to soften it. Now I don't find the recoil on this to be overly harsh to begin with, but it's kind of a neat feature and it actually does work. It is functional. It's also fully adjustable for length of pull. As far as the front hand guards go, you can see it is polymer, but it's got the rails on it so you can hang whatever devices you want off of it. It is an upper and a lower. I did have to do just a little bit of fitting on the upper in order to get it to work correctly, but it really wasn't bad. It was fairly minor, and then it dropped right in there, and it's a nice tight fit, so I can take this off, put it back on, and the optic goes right back to zero. Otherwise, it's got a fairly traditional set of iron sights on it. You can use a typical AK tool to adjust the front sight, and then the back is just a leaf sight as you would typically expect. So let's talk about the action on this a little bit. It is a reciprocating bolt. It does have a lockback feature, and that's a function of the way that the magazine is designed to work with the rifle itself. One of the things you'll notice is when you use this very small mag release device, which is tough with gloves on, but when you get that open up, I mean, it's just cavernous in there, okay? That helps make it become a really reliable platform. Really have had zero issues with this in terms of the rifle itself. It is a striker fire design as opposed to a hammer, so that's real interesting. And the falling block inside of it is a falling block locking design, so it's similar to a Beretta 92 FS in that regard. So again, a very different manufacturer, a very different design than the AK platform. But very reliable, very rugged. These were sold to third world countries during the Soviet era. So they went to a lot of bad places, did a lot of bad things. In fact, these even showed up in Vietnam. So it's a prolific rifle, but we don't here in the States know all that much about it. But again, if you're one of our Canadian friends, you know this really well, because for some reason AKs aren't allowed up in Canada, so they go with this if you want to do a 7.62 by 39 round. So very popular up there. Modding it up like this is very popular up there as well. Hasn't caught on as much in the US, and I think that's because of the popularity of the AK platform, but I'll tell you what, this is a riotous rifle to shoot. It's a lot of fun. So let's do a field strip on the VZ58. As usual, you make sure you take the magazine out, check for clear, we're good there. Now on this, what you have to do is you do have to take the safety off, make sure that you're pointed safely downrange, pull the trigger. And once you've done that, push this pin out. Top cover comes off. There's your return spring and your striker spring. Pull the bolt assembly group back, that whole thing pulls out. We'll take that down a little further in just a second here. Next move is you've got another captured pin up front here. Pull that out, top cover comes off, and now short stroke gas piston comes out. That's pretty much field stripped. To finish it up, pull that out, and here's your falling block. So again, those of you who have a Beretta, this ought to look fairly familiar to you. This is the lockup mechanism. That's field stripped. Putting it back together, you just follow the opposite. Take the piston. There is a spring back in here. Push it in, slide it back into place. Top cover goes on. Slides back down, push that pin back in. Now you're good there. Take the bolt assembly group, drop this back into place. There's a little trick with this. You do have to cant it just a bit when you put it in and then turn it, and it locks into place. Not a big deal, you just got to line up that big lug with the bottom, but you do have to turn it to take it out, and you have to turn it to put it back in. Once you've got that, drop that back in. Slides forward. Now again, you're going to have to pull the trigger so that you can slide that back into place. Now that you've got that there, take that top cover, put the springs back where they belong, and you slide the top cover forward. Make sure the pin's all the way out. Slides back into place, push that pin back in. Now you do your function check. Perfect. So that's how you put it back together. Very, very accurate shooter. Hey, thanks for letting me introduce you to the VZ58, all modernized from the Czech Republic to here to you. Appreciate your stopping by. This is Crucible Arms. If you want to support my channel, please subscribe, please like, please leave a comment, and share this video. You can also find me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Crucible Arms. Until next time, thanks a bunch.